We just purchased this hot tub and I just have it temporarily sitting on this part of my pool deck. But the goal is to lift up all this plywood base here. I used to have a shed sitting here, so we're gonna get all this out of here and prepare this area and pour a concrete slab. And that way we can move the whole hot tub over this way. And then we're also gonna build a pergola around it. So we'll put 4 posts in and build a pergola. So, but for this video, I'm gonna show you how to prepare this area and pour the concrete slab. For this hot tub, I need a slab that is at least 77 inches by 77 inches. Now over here, where it's gonna go, I want to keep it off this fence at least 1.5 feet. I don't wanna have a concrete slab poured directly up against the fence. So I'm gonna stay off 1.5 feet. That makes the distance from there to the current pool deck 59 inches, and then the hot tub's gonna overhang onto this pool deck a little bit. And then this way, from the edge over there, I'm gonna pour concrete from that edge all the way to the edge of this end of the pool deck, which is 133 inches. So there's gonna be a lot of extra concrete here. I'm probably gonna put like a wooden bar on this side of the hot tub with some stools, some bar stools. And so we have to have an area to stand there. And then also there's gonna be 4 6x6 posts on each corner here to build a little pergola over the hot tub. So there's some concrete calculators online, and I calculated based on the measurements 133 inches by 59 inches, and I need 52 bags of 80-pound concrete. A pallet of concrete is 56 bags, so I'm just gonna go ahead and have a whole pallet delivered. And then I'm also gonna rent one of those concrete mixers. They have a motorized concrete mixer at Home Depot that they rent out. I think it's like $55 a day, so that's gonna make this job go a lot quicker. All right, I've got all that wood cleared out from the old shed base. So I'm gonna start building the form for this concrete. I'm gonna start over on this side. I'm gonna cut this, it's a 1x4 here. I'm gonna cut it to 60 inches because that's gonna be the width. So I'm just butting the end of this up to the concrete pool deck. There's actually a piece of wood right here for this turf that I installed a while back, so I don't even need to stake it on this side. It's got plenty of support. I'm gonna fasten this side of the form to this piece of wood here just to secure it. Make sure this front edge is level with the rest of the pool deck. The slope on these pads is going to be very slightly sloped back this way as well as sloped that way. So it's going to kind of go ever so slightly that direction. We're right where we want to be on that. Just very slightly off level, sloping that way. See, that's just slightly off level. If I lift up that right side, about 1/4 of an inch, we're level now. So very, very slight slope. The length of these pads is gonna be 133 inches. And I'm gonna do 3 separate pads. So we're gonna separate them by about 44.5 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that out for our first section here. And this, I cut another one at 60 inches to complete that section. So there's our mark there at 44.5. So we'll put this first one right here, and that'll be the first pad that we pour. I'm gonna start screwing this frame together. right, we got our width the same there, all the way down. We'll put a couple stakes on this side, maybe one about there, and then we'll put another one here just to support this piece because there's no wood to screw it into on this side. We're using this concrete here as the edge of this pad. We're looking for about a 1/4 of an inch slope over the course of this 3-foot level here. So I just put it down, pull up the side till it's level, and then you just check the distance between the bottom of that level and the bottom of the board. About a 1/4 of an inch. I'm gonna cut some stakes from this piece of wood here. Some points into the end. Alright, now we'll just screw the sides of these forms to the stakes. You gotta make sure it's level with the rest of the pool deck. Put another one here. I've got these stakes on the inside of this form here, so I'll be pouring that one first, and then I think I'm going to put these stakes here on the inside of this one as well, and I'll pour this pad over here, and I'll leave this middle one for last, and I'll take those stakes out and pour it last. All right, I've got these forms completed. They're all staked in and secure. Everything's level with a slight slope. So yeah, I shouldn't say level, but sloping. I just gotta excavate a little bit more of this dirt out of here, and then we'll be putting down some crushed rock for a base, tamp it down, and then we'll be ready to pour this concrete. All right, I've excavated a couple inches of dirt out of this one here, and I've got an irrigation line here and an old electrical line that was for the pool pump. It's not being used anymore, but I'm gonna stop there and then put the crushed gravel, and about probably 2 inches of crushed gravel in before we pour the concrete. I picked up a yard of crushed concrete. So all different size stones, no bigger than an inch. It's like 1/2 inch to an inch. So we're gonna pour about 2 inches of this as a base in and compact it, and then we'll be pouring the concrete pads on top of that. It's about my 4th wheelbarrow load here. So I'm just gonna continue spreading it until I have about a 3.5 to 4 inch gap left where we'll be pouring the concrete on top. Now we're just gonna go through with a tamper and get this all tamped down. All right, next I'm gonna take a masonry bit. We're gonna drill 3 holes into this slab here, and then I'm gonna put in some long bolts, some like lag bolts, and we'll glue those in. And that way, when we pour the slab, the new slab will grab onto those lag bolts that are coming out of this slab, and the slabs will never move. They'll stay perfectly even with each other. These are the lag bolts I'm gonna use. Most people would use rebar for this, but then you have to cut it down to size, so I'm just gonna use these bolts and I think it's gonna work just fine. So I've got these, I think they're about 6 inches long, and then I've got a 1/2 inch masonry bit here. Put the drill on hammer. It's a little big. I'm gonna see if I have a smaller bit. Hole's a little bit big for this lag bolt. Try 3/8. All right, that's much better. So I'm gonna pull these out for now, but before we pour the slabs, we'll go ahead and cement these in using a special type of concrete adhesive. And then once that cures, then we'll be ready to pour the slab. I'm gonna put 3 of these in per slab. Don't dig a hole, just we're taking soil off the top. Super safe with bare feet. All right, we've got our base of crushed concrete laid. It's about 2.5 to 3 inches deep of crushed concrete. Comes right up to the bottom of these forms. It's gonna give us about 3.5 to 4 inches of concrete. Got all our holes drilled in the other slab for our lag bolts. It's all tamped. So right before we pour the concrete, we'll just go ahead and spray this down with water really well, and then we'll start pouring. We're gonna be putting this wire mesh in each slab. So these are the sections that I got at Home Depot. They're about 42 inches by, I think, 7 feet. So I'm just gonna use these cutters here and cut this down to size. You wanna leave about 6 inches on each edge. So what we'll do is we'll pour a layer of concrete, a thin layer, and then we'll lay this down in there, and then we'll continue pouring on top. That way it's in the middle of the slab rather than laying down at the bottom. I'm just gonna use this shot vac to vacuum out all these holes I drilled. You don't want any concrete dust in those holes because then the adhesive won't work very well. All right, we're gonna install these lag bolts. We're using this adhesive. It is made by Quikrete. It's called Fast Set Anchoring Epoxy. So it's made for installing rebar, threaded rods, whatever, into concrete. So we've got our holes drilled. We're gonna fill them almost to the top with epoxy. And then we're gonna install the lag bolts and let them set up. Sets up in 16 minutes. It's fully cured within a couple hours, I think. So they make the long setting stuff and the fast acting stuff, so I went with the fast set. And it mixes together the 2-part epoxy. You can see it. So just let a little bit come out the tip, and as soon as it's like a uniform color and they're mixing, then you can start putting it in the holes. And just spin those bolts as you put them in. I'm also going to put some of these lag bolts going this direction. So so that both of these slabs are connected. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and I'll just drill holes through this wood form here. So once we pour this slab, we'll be able to take the side of this form off, and it'll slide right off those bolts. These are 60-pound bags of concrete. They're 4,000 PSI, high strength, quickcrete. Got it from Home Depot. It says add approximately 4 pints of water for each 60-pound bag. So 4 pints is equal to 64 ounces. So I've got this measuring cup here, and it goes all the way to 128 ounces. So we're gonna wanna do 64 ounces per bag. And in the past, I found that you typically having to add a little bit more water after you're done, just to kind of get it to the proper consistency. I've got artificial turf here, and so I went ahead and put down some brown paper bag here and just duct taped it down. I don't know if that's gonna do the job, especially when it starts getting wet and stuff with concrete, but I figured I may as well try to protect that turf as much as I can. And if it doesn't work, I'll just have to rinse it all off as I'm going here. We're gonna start by pouring 64 ounces of water into the mixer. You never wanna start pouring concrete into a dry mixer. Always start with some water in there to begin with. Let's go ahead and cut the bags down the middle. Keep adding water till it has a nice consistency. Almost like oatmeal. This mixer can do up to 3 bags of 60-pound concrete, 180 pounds total. Do another 64 ounces for this next bag. All right, consistency looks really good. I'm gonna go ahead and wet this gravel before I lay the concrete down. lay the wire mesh down now. All right, that's 14 bags. I think that that's enough, but I'm gonna start screening the top. We're gonna go from that end to this end, and if we need to add another bag, we will. I don't think we're gonna have enough. We're short by maybe half a bag, so I'm gonna mix up a little bit more. Just gonna take a hammer and tap the edges of this just to work out any air bubbles along the sides of this form. It's not like 100% necessary that you do this, but I've done concrete before where you take the forms off and then you see a bunch of air bubbles along the side. So if you can do it, you may as well. And we're gonna take our mag float and just run it across the top of that surface to smooth it out. And then we'll let this set up for probably an hour and a half or so till all the water kind of wicks off the surface, and then we'll start finishing the edges. The purpose of this is just to get all that aggregate to sink down into the slab and get all the cream to the top so you have a nice smooth finish. A hot tub's going to be on top of this slab, so I'm definitely not going to make this perfect. All right, we'll come and check on this in about an hour or so. All right, so now that we've got the edges all cut in, I'm gonna take that magnesium float, this here, and we're gonna go back over and smooth the surface off and bring all that cream to the top, give it a nice smooth surface, and then we'll broom it and then make sure our edges are cleaned up, and we'll be done with this one. Go back and forth, eventually all the cream will come to the top. The motion is you start on the back, and when you finish that backwards motion, you're coming back the other way, you kind of put more pressure on the other side. That way you're not gouging it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take our broom and brush the top of this surface. Just lay the weight of the broom on the top and just pull it across. We're gonna take our edging tool and go back around those edges. That way you get that nice smooth border around the whole slab. So the same motion with this that we were doing with the mag float. It's pressure on the back, and then when you go the other way, pressure on the front, just back and forth. Concrete's very forgiving, so if you gouge it, you can just smooth it right back over. It'll clean up very easily. I'm done with this slab here. It's not perfect. I wasn't going for perfect just because there's going to be a hot tub sitting on top of this thing, but the reason I finished it and broomed it was just so I could show you guys the process. But I think I broomed it slightly too early. You shouldn't have that aggregate coming up. It's just a little bit too rough. So I'll probably wait a little bit longer to broom the next one. But other than that, the edges look good. It's got a nice rounded edge up against the other slab. I'm happy with it. I'm running out of daylight here, but I got this other slab that needs to sit for a little bit longer before I finish it. So I'll probably be waiting another 30 minutes or so, and then I'll do the same exact process on that one. Tomorrow I'll be removing these forms. I'll leave the back there, and I'll just be taking off these sides, and they'll slide right off of those lag bolts that I installed. And then when we pour the third slab, the other two slabs will act as the left and right sides of the form. So the slabs will be poured directly up against each other. And then once I'm all finished, I'll remove that back piece of wood there, and then the right side form. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and remove these forms now. These two slabs have cured for 24 hours now, so I'm gonna remove this one here as well as that one, and we'll leave this back one here. Okay, all the forms on the sides have been removed. We've got this edge here, and it's flush with the old pool deck. Edge looks nice. Just using these old pieces of form to cover up those sharp bolts that are sticking out there until we pour the third slab. This piece of wood here has to stay. It butts up against the artificial turf there, so I'm just going to leave that. And once we pour that third slab, we'll just take out that last form there. I'm gonna let these cure for about a week. That way when I pour that third slab, I'm not tearing up the other two and scratching them up with the screed. When you pour large concrete slabs, you have to have what's called control joints. So typically, you know, you would pour a large slab and then they'll take a concrete saw and cut slits down the whole length of the slab. And what this does is they kind of strategically place these joints so that when the concrete expands and contracts, it doesn't crack, or if it does crack, it cracks in that control joint. So that way you don't end up with a bunch of cracks all through your concrete. So the way that I'm doing these 3 slabs, because there's 3 separate slabs up against each other, those joints will act as control joints. So not only did this make it easier for me to pour these myself by doing them separately, but it also includes the control joints with this method. For this third slab, I had some scrap pieces of that wire mesh material, and rather than buying a whole new sheet, I just wired them all together with some copper wire and also attached them to these lag bolts. So not something that you need to do, but just what I did just to make use of some extra scraps that I had. And then put another piece of it below it to lift it up off the rock. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pour the concrete straight on top of this. That's 15 bags right there. Hopefully that's enough. The last slab is poured, so I'm just gonna let that set up for a couple hours, and then I'll come back and do the finishing touches. And then tomorrow I'll take that back form off and probably let this set up for about a week or so, and then go ahead and move the hot tub in place. Okay, it has been a week, and I'm going to go ahead and get all this duct tape removed, and that last piece of form on the back side, we're gonna remove that as well. Okay, all the forms are removed. Kind of see that back edge there. That's what the seams look like. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So like I said, we're at 7 days here. Well, these outer 2 are at 14 days. This middle one's at 7 days. I'm gonna go ahead and move the hot tub over today. Probably going to wait another week before I actually fill it with water, just to give that middle slab a little bit more time to cure. Concrete fully cures in 28 days, but I think that's a little bit excessive. We should be good to go at 14 days filling that tub up.
Like half inch.
Where? That one?
This way.
Oh. If this video helped you out, please like it, and feel free to leave a comment below, and also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any new content that we release. See you in the next video. Thanks.